This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
So I'll go ahead and open the July 11th meeting of the Public Safety Building Committee. It doesn't look like there's anyone here from the public. The next thing I had was the minutes. Did everyone get a copy of the minutes that Cindy sent out? We have both the June 6th minutes and the June 21st minutes.
Right.
I move to approve the minutes as written.
Okay.
One second.
Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes as written?
Aye.
Okay, both sets of minutes, June 6th and June 21st as written. The next thing I had was the senior center update. Francine, I don't know if you're involved with that at all, or?
No, I'm not. The only thing that I can report is that the letters went out to the property owners on behalf of the Public Safety Committee and the COA feasibility group.
Yep.
And Ed has received, they were sent out registered mail, and he received the receipts from all but one, and that was at the end of last week.
Okay.
He can tell you so.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good.
So that's the only update.
Okay, thank you. And we just approved the minutes and we're just talking about any senior center update. So I don't know if you have anything beyond letters going out or if they're doing anything else.
Letters have gone out. I can confirm that at least through the return receipts that we got back on them, that all parties have received the letters.
Oh, well, that's good.
No responses.
I just told them all but one, but you have the latest news.
Yes.
Okay, good.
But,
And no, we have not received any responses to those letters.
okay.
So may I just ask for the minutes purposes, was it a single letter that was written on behalf both of Council on Aging and Public Safety, or were they two separate letters?
It was one letter. I actually got a copy from Chris Fowles. So if anybody wants to see it, this is the letters that went out. It was one letter, and it discussed both the potential senior center and public safety complex. And it said in terms of the acreage, it would be discussed if they're interested in donating or selling a portion of the land. So that's here if anybody wants to look at it. These are all the letters that went out. And then the letters included this notification of interest form, and it said, by completing this form, I acknowledge the receipt of the letter from the chair of the Southampton Select Board dated June 27th regarding a specific parcel of my property. I understand the town of Southampton is identifying properties for a future public safety building and the senior center. And then you either check, yes, I'm interested in discussing a possible donation, sale, or combination thereof of my property. Please contact me, email, best phone number. Some specific considerations about this property I'd like the select board to know. There's some blank space, and then, or no, I'm not interested. And then name, date, and signature. And they asked for all replies by July 27th. So I'll be curious, to be honest, what comes back in the next couple of weeks.
May I just look at
Oh, yeah. So that was kind of our next agenda item as well. We had the senior center status update and then a land status review. I said letters sent to landowners. Any question or further discussion on that one? Okay. So what we had down as the next step was talk about how to put together an RFP or an RFQ for a feasibility study. And then as part of that, kind of the next item I had is start to generate a list of the requirements that would go into that. So I don't know, so I don't know if anyone has thoughts on that. Chief, we were just talked about letters had gone out, had receipt responses, but no true responses yet. They've been asked for responses by July 27th, so we'll see what comes back. And then we just were getting into talking about what our next steps are in terms of an RFP or RFQ for a feasibility study.
That's good. Question is, why reinvent the wheel? I know that we sent out an RFQ several years ago, and Senior Center also sent out one just recently. Should we, take those two and try to meld those into something more current to us, rather than just sort of blindly putting together facts and
Yeah.
ideas? Have that as an outline anyway to start from.
Yeah, no, that seems like a good idea. So just to kind of go over the terms, and Mark, maybe you can help me with this too, is an RFP is a request for proposal, and somebody's submitting a actual cost proposal for a feasibility study.
Not necessarily. There's an RFQ, request for qualifications, and that just have firm come in and tell us that they meet certain criteria to do the study. An RFP, a request for proposals, is sometimes it's a proposal, sometimes it's fee-based, sometimes it's not. Depends on however the applicant wants to do it. Sometimes you have them submit two different things. You go through the request for proposals, find the one you think are most qualified, then you open up the price and negotiate the price based upon the best one, the best, most qualified designer.
So in RFQ, they would submit a % fee based on time spent on the feasibility study typically.
You can actually do it two different ways. You can do it based on a fee, like a not to exceed, or
Right.
you can basically and tell them what it is, or you can just say basically fee to be negotiated.
Okay. And then it could be kind of like a time and material based on the hours they spend on it at that point.
Well, yeah, at that point, you're going to negotiate that before they even start.
Before they
So,
start.
one kind of gives you a somewhat, at least of a target of where you might want to end up. The other leaves it open-ended, so you could get proposals that are $40,000 and $120,000.
Right, the senior center I saw had $60,000 in their RFQ is what their target was.
Not to exceed, yes.
Not to exceed 60,000 for the, and that's for a full feasibility study, but, and just for preliminary design, not for the design of the facility. Okay. I mean, I agree with not reinventing the wheel, taking what the senior center did, and then obviously there's lists that we need to probably go back. We could start with what was done a few years ago and go back and with the fire department, police department, go through, what are the requirements, what are we looking for? Do we want to wait on property owners before we start moving further with an RFQ, or do we want to go, I mean, there's no reason we can't start working on it. What are your guys' thoughts timeline-wise? Yeah, Charlie?
I would move forward on doing the RFQ. Do you need a copy of what actually was submitted and put together the last time around?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
I have something that, I think the feasibility study, like the presentation and what you'd sent out originally, but I don't
No, but
think.
I believe I have the RFQ that was put together, and I believe I have all that in Word. So what I'll do is, when I have an opportunity, I'll dredge back in those files, send it to the whole committee, and that way at least you can look at what took place back then.
Perfect.
And you probably would just be able to wordsmith it to what you want.
Okay, that sounds good.
And I'll send you the copy of the RFQ for the senior center feasibility study.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like if some of the same, I don't know if it'll be the same firms or not, but it'd be nice if there's some consistency between those two, if they're kind of on the street at the same time. Okay. So in terms of putting that together and starting to generate the list of requirements, is that something we want to do as a whole group? What do you guys think about the best way to move forward with what we're looking for in a facility? Do we have other comparable new facilities from other towns that are comparable to us that we could start with as a baseline? Any ideas?
Wouldn't it be appropriate to start with what was already drawn up for the needs of Southampton for the last committee?
And that, we did the studies of all the different facilities that were built at that time.
Okay.
There hasn't been that many more that have been built since then. But my personal feeling is, I'll send everybody that information, And then at our next meeting, we'll decide if we want to make it into a subgroup or if we want to just do it as a whole and keep going.
I think that's a good idea. So maybe if you could send that out, would give everybody a little time to take a look at it before the meeting.
I will try to do this tomorrow or the day after.
Perfect. And that way what we could do next meeting is we can all have taken, at least a cursory look through it and go through and say, okay, we said this many square feet. Do we need to increase that at this point by 10%? Or is it good? Or whatever the point may be. Does that make sense?
Just a personal ha-ha. I'm not looking at adding on to what we have proposed. I just want to make sure there's enough land there that if we have to expand, there's land to expand on.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's something that is often with municipal facilities I've seen too. You'll see dotted line where they would maybe in 10 years propose, they just left that there as open space or whatever. So that's something that could be factored in. Okay, so for the next meeting, we'll run through the RFQ that was created 7, 8 years ago, 10 years ago. Was it 2012 or 2015?
Don't ask me anymore. I don't remember this guy.
No, that's fine. I know there was a vote in 2015, I think, but I wasn't sure. That's correct.
So it had to be before the vote.
Right.
So.
Okay, but regardless, it's not that long ago, I mean. Okay, so next meeting we'll run through that and we can take a look at the senior center RFQ and what portions of that we could take for consistency. Anything else we should be thinking about working on right now?
Just the parcels that we have picked out, there were 5 privates and 2 publics.
Yes.
Should we be doing any more research on those ourselves?
That's a good idea.
I mean, we're going to hire the consultant to do that, but I think it might be better for us to have this background to look at a little more. Again, we'll look at the soils reports and see if there's any environmental qualifications and rare habitats or things like that pulled together. Before we have 50 parcels, now we have 7.
Right.
So, I wouldn't mind, I think it might be wise to go ahead and spend some upfront time. Maybe it'll help us when we go sit down to further our qualifications.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Mark, if you want to spend some time and maybe generate something to send to the group that we can then, review in next meeting or the meeting after that, whenever it makes sense. I think that'd be great. Is there anything you need, like town information, or are you just going to go Mass GIS and this?
Mass GIS and the Mass Mapper now, which you can research different criteria.
Okay. All right, that sounds good.
Used to be Oliver. Changed the name.
Don't keep looking at me. You know how far back we go and stuff. Yeah.
What?
I'm just laughing at all the old records and how they keep getting remerged.
Yeah.
And what happens is if mistakes made, that mistake continues in perpetuity until somebody steps up and says, wait a minute, the river doesn't go there.
Somebody notices their lot's wrong or
Yeah.
something like that, yeah. Or somebody goes to sell their lot or whatever it may
I
be.
just got asked for a COC for 1995. I'm like, it's kind of late now.
This has been relatively quick, but is there anything else anyone has that we should discuss while we're here? I mean, I think we kind of have a plan moving forward to review the RFQs.
If I get home early enough, I can maybe do it tonight.
So our next meeting will be in 2 weeks. Does that work for everyone? My town government had had auto scheduled, so I deleted next week's. But does the 25th work for everyone? July 25th in 2 weeks? So we'll plan for July 25th at 4:30. And hopefully, we can all take a look at the RFQ for the senior center and the old one for the public safety complex, and then next time will kind of be a workshop going through and marking those up, highlighting things that might need to be changed and everything. Anything else before we adjourn? It's been short. Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Sir?
All in favor?
Hi.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for all being here. It's just,
Thank you, Chairman, for a very efficient.
I was gonna say 15 minutes. Normally we're like pushing 6 o'clock and.
Vanessa dispatches.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.